Hello everyone. In this lecture, we discuss Section 6 of the Transfer of Property Act. Section 6 of this Act deals with what property may be transferred and what property cannot be transferred. So, this Act lays down that the property of any kind may be transferred except as provided under the Act or any other law for the time being in force. So the words property of any kind means it indicates that transferability is the general rule and the right to property includes the right to transfer the property to another person. Property of any kind excludes from its purview the future property. The transfer of future property can only operate as a contract which may be specifically performed when the property comes into existence. So here we can see that what property may be transferred. Here the circumstances are, the first one is the change of an heir apparent succeeding to an estate, the chance of a relation abstaining a legacy on the death of a kinsman, or any other mere possibility of a like nature cannot be transferred. And a mere right of re-entry for a breach of a condition subsequent cannot be transferred to anyone except the owner of that property affected thereby. And an easement also. In an easement cannot be transferred apart from the dominant heritage, and an interest in property restricted in its enjoyment to the owner personally cannot be transferred by him. And a right to future maintenance in whatsoever manner arising, secured or determined cannot be transferred. And a mere right to sue cannot be transferred. And public officers also, public office cannot be transferred, nor can the salary of a public officer, whether before or after it has become payable. And the next one is stipends allowed to military, naval, air force and civil pensioners of the government and politicians. Their pensions cannot be transferred, and no transfer can be made insofar as it is opposed to the nature of the interest affected thereby, or for any unlawful object or consideration within the meaning of the section 23 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, or to a person legally disqualified to be transferred. So in brief we can say that Section 6 of the Transfer of Property Act provides for the general rules that all kinds of property is alienable in the sense transferable. However, certain exceptions are provided under clauses A to I, and in other words, the following properties which are contained in clauses A to 1 of Section 6 of the TP Act are not transferable or alienable. So we can see what property cannot be transferred here. The first one is spes succession, and spes succession means mere chance or hope of succession. The right of a person to inherit to another in future is a mere chance which may or may not happen, and hence it cannot be transferred. So in other words, we can say that mere hope to get the property of another cannot be transferred. So for example, a Hindu owing separate property dies leaving a widow B and a brother C. Suppose if C has only a bare chance of succession, that means we can say that it is a spes succession, and this chance of succeeding to the property cannot be transferred, and C's succession to the estate is depending upon two factors, that is his surviving the widow B and B leaving the property intact. So this is spes succession. And the second one is mere right of re-entry. So mere right of re-entry means Section 6B provides that a mere right of re-entry for a breach of a condition subsequent cannot be transferred to anyone except the owner of the property affected thereby. So here we can see the illustration for mere right of re-entry. A grants a lease of plot of land to B with a condition that if B shall build upon it, he would re-enter. A transfers C his right of re-entering in case of breach of the covenant not to build. The transfer is invalid for two reasons. One is the right is a personal license and not transferable, and the second one is the transferee could only use it for the purpose of a suit to enforce the right without acquiring any right in the property. But if A transfers the whole his interest in the property, that means the ownership along with the right of free entry to C, the transfer shall be valid being a legal incident of the property. And the third one is easement. According to section 6C, the term easement means right over the property of another. That means right in re aliena. In Mohammedan law, they are called neighbor's rights. So this section provides that an easement cannot be transferred apart from the dominant heritage. An easement is an incident of the ownership of the dominant heritage and passes with it. Therefore, it cannot be separated from the dominant heritage and it cannot be transferred separately. This we can see of course, the illustration for this is A has an easementary right to get the water from the well of B. A cannot transfer this easementary right to any third person. And the fourth one is personally restricted interest. Certain interests in a property are to be enjoyed by the owner alone and cannot be transferred to anyone. So, a person having right to property can transfer the same either subject to a restriction or without restriction. Where property is transferred subject to a restriction, the transferee is supposed not to act contrary to the restrictions. So, if property is transferred to the transferee with the restriction that it is to be enjoyed by him personally, he shall have no right to transfer such property, and if he transfers the property in violation of the restriction, the transfer shall be void under this clause. Example, a priest in a temple or a house is lent to a person for his personal use. He cannot transfer his right of enjoyment to another. The fifth one is right to future maintenance. A right to future maintenance is solely for the personal benefit of the person to whom it is granted, and hence it cannot be transferred. So this clause is added in the Amendment Act of 1929. And before the insertion of this clause in 1929, there was a conflict of opinion whether the right to future maintenance, when it was fixed by a decree, was transferable or not. It was held in Madras that it was in one case, that is Rani Annapurni versus Swaminath, and in Calcutta it was not. Asad Ali versus Hyder Ali. The amendment supersedes the Madras court's decision, and the result is that the assignment of a decree for maintenance is valid if the maintenance has already become due, but as to future maintenance it is not valid. Arrears of maintenance therefore can be assigned. And the sixth one is a mere right to sue. So section 6 provides that a mere right to sue cannot be transferred. To sue means to make a legal claim or to take legal proceedings against any person. It does not necessarily imply institution of a suit by means of a plaint, such as is referred to in the, such as it is referred to in the Code of Civil Procedure. It rather implies the taking of any legal proceedings in matters of kind. Example, right to sue for breach of a contract or tort. So a mere right to sue of whatever nature cannot be transferred in law, and it is said that a stranger to a contract cannot sue. Only parties to the suit alone can sue and be sued, since it is a personal right. However, there are certain exceptions to this rule. And the seventh one is public offices. Public offices or salary of public officer cannot be transferred. The prohibition is imposed on the basis of the public policy. The expression public office has not been defined anywhere in the Act. A public office is a position which has a public duty attached to it, and it does not matter whether the person holding the office receives any fee or salary for the performance of such duty or not, or whether he receives it from government or otherwise. And the eighth one is stipends and pensions. Stipends and pensions allowed to Army, Navy, Air Force, civil, government, and political pensioners cannot be transferred. Pension means a periodical allowance or stipends granted not in respect of any right to office, but on account of past services on particular merit. A bonus or a reward is not a pension. An allowance granted for other consideration is not within the prohibition and can be transferred. And a pension is also exempt from attachment under section 60G of the Civil Procedure Code 1908. And similarly, scholarships, medals, rewards, etc. cannot be transferred. And the ninth one is unlawful transfers. Unlawful transfers provides no transfer can be made insofar as it is opposed to the nature of interest affected thereby, and for an unlawful object for consideration within the meaning of section 23 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, and to a person legally disqualified to be a transferee. So transfer of property in consideration of doing a murder is void. Similarly, a transfer of property whose object for consideration is future illicit cohabitation is void. A transfer of property for past illicit cohabitation is also a bad in law, and therefore it is void. And the 10th one is others are certain other occasions where the property cannot be transferred is a tenant having untransferable right of occupancy cannot transfer his right of tenancy, and a farmer of an estate in respect of which default has been made in paying revenue is not permitted to transfer the estate. A lessee of an estate under the management of a court of wards is not allowed to transfer his interest. And in this slide we try to discuss about section 7 of the Transfer of Property Act. Section 7 deals with the capacity to transfer or persons competent to transfer. So according to this section, any person can transfer a property provided the following conditions are satisfied. The first one is he must be competent to contract, and he must have title to the property or authority to transfer the property if it is not his own. So the exact section of section 7 runs as follows. Every person competent to contract and entitled to transfer the transferable property or authorized to dispose or transferable property not his own is competent to transfer such property either wholly or in part, either absolutely or conditionally, in the circumstances, to the extent and in the manner allowed and prescribed by any law for the time being in force. So here we can see that what is the competency to contract. A person, in order to enter into a contract, must possess or must fulfill some conditions. Those are he or she must be a major, that means he must not be a minor, and he or she must be of unsound mind, that means he must be sound mind. That means he must not be of unsound mind, and he must be qualified by the law in force, or must not he must not be disqualified by law in force to contract. For example, insolvency, alien enemy, etc. And the second one is entitled to transferable property or authorized to dispose of not his own. So the second requirement is that the transfer must either be entitled to the transferable property, or where the property belongs to someone else. He must have authority of the owner of property to dispose the same. So a person not entitled to the transferable property, example, a trespasser cannot make a valid transfer of the property. Where a person purports to transfer another's property, he must show that he has right to do so as an agent or a guardian of the owner or a trustee or the like. The extent of the power of transfer depends upon the interest of the transferor or the limitation upon his authority. So, if the above mentioned conditions are fulfilled, the transferor can transfer the property either wholly or in part, either absolutely or conditionally, in the circumstance, to the extent and in the manner allowed and prescribed by any law for the time being in force. And in this slide we can see oral transfers. Section 9 of the Transfer of Property Act lays down that a transfer of property may be made without writing in every case in which a writing is not expressly required by law. So in other words, we can say that transfer of property may be effected under the act both orally as well as in writing. So here we can see the following transfers are expressly permitted by this act to be effected orally or without writing. The first one is sales of tangible immobile property of a value of less than 100 rupees. Section 54 deals with this. And the second one is mortgages by deposit of title deeds and mortgages other than simple mortgages where principal money secured is less than 100 rupees. Section 58F and 59 of the Transfer of Property Act deals with this kind of transfers. And the third one is lease of immobile property not being one from year to year or from any term exceeding 1 year, reserving a yearly rent. Section 107 deals with this kind of transfer. And the fourth one is exchange of immobile property of a value less than 100 rupees. Section 118 read with section 54. And the fifth one is gifts of mobile property. Section 123 deals with this. So this is all about oral transfers. In this slide we can see the topics condition restraining alienation and condition restraining enjoyment. Section 10 and 11 of the Act deals with this. So section 10 deals with the rule or condition restraining alienation, and section 11 deals with the rule or condition restraining enjoyment. So condition restraining alienation means transfer of property from one person to another person includes the right to own, right to enjoy, and the right to dispose without any restraint or restriction. So if the transferor imposes any condition or any clause on the transferee not to transfer further, such clause is called as rule against inalienability. So the condition is void under section 10 of the Act, and the transferee can simply ignore or he can deny such condition. In other words, the further transfer by the transferee is valid and the condition imposed on the transferee by the transferor is void. So illustration for section 10 are Suppose, for example, A sells his property to B with a condition that if B sells the said property in future, he must sell to A or to any member of A's family on the rate of which he purchased. This is a restraining condition, so it is not valid. So to attract section 10, the ingredients are the first one is any transfer of property. The subject matter is transfer of property, or there must be exist of the transfer of property. And the second one is transfer is made by imposing a condition or limitation, and the condition imposes absolute restraint on alienation by the transferee. So and the restraint may be of many kinds. Here we can see the kinds of restraint. The condition restraining alienation may be of two kinds, namely absolute restraint and partial restraint. We can discuss about absolute restraint here. Absolute restraint means if the transferor, while transferring the property, imposes on transferee not to transfer further, such a condition is called absolute restraint. For example, A sells his property to B with a condition that B should not dispose it to anybody. It is absolute condition which restricts that transferee absolutely to transfer, so it is void. The exception for this rule is the rule that absolute restraint is void when it is subject to certain exceptions, as for example in case of lease and in case of married women. So in case of lease, the lessor can impose a condition that the lessee shall not subject he shall not sublet the property or sell his leasehold interest. Such condition is valid. And in case of married woman, the second exception is made in respect of a married woman who is not a Hindu, Buddhist or Muslim. A property may be transferred to or for the benefit of a married woman, so that she shall not have power during her marriage to transfer or charge the same on her beneficial interest therein. So section 8 of the Married Women's Property Act 1874, as amended by the Act 21 of 1929, provides that even a decree against a married woman cannot be executed by sale of the property which she is restrained from alienating during her marriage. And coming to partial restraint. Partial restraint means where a property is transferred from one person to another if the transferor imposes a condition or a clause on transferee whereby the transferee is partially abandoned or restrained from alienating the property. Such restraint is called as partial restraint. For instance, in a settlement of the joint family property, if the members are required to sell their share only to other family members and not allowed to sell the property to the outsiders, such restraint is called partial restraint, and that is valid. And for example, A transfers his property to B with a condition that if B transfers the property, A shall have a right of preemption. Here we discuss section 11 of the Transfer of Property Act. Section 11 deals with condition restraining enjoyment. Section 11 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882 lays down that condition is restraint of enjoyment is void. So it means when a property is transferred from one person to another, if the transferor imposes any condition on the transferee restraining him from enjoyment of the property, such restraint by the transferor is void. So such a condition would be repugnant to the interest created, and the transfer is deemed to have been made as if there was no condition at all. So the transfer is valid and the transferee can ignore or deny such restraint. Section 11 of the Transfer of Property Act provides that a condition repugnant to the interest created is void, as we discussed it earlier. So This section corresponds, section 11 corresponds with section 138 of Indian Succession Act. So section 11 of the TP Act and section 138 of the Indian Succession Act read as follows. Section 11 of TP Act says, restriction repugnant to interest created, where on a transfer of property an interest therein is created absolutely in favor of any person, but the terms of the transfer direct that such interest shall be applied or enjoyed by him in a particular manner, he shall be entitled to receive and dispose of such interest as if there were no such direction. Where any such direction has been made in respect of one piece of immovable property for the purpose of securing the beneficial enjoyment of another piece of such property, nothing in this section shall be deemed to affect any right which the transferor may have to enforce such direction, or any remedy which he may have in respect of a breach thereof. And section 138 of Indian Succession Act 1925 says, direction that fund be employed in a particular manner following absolute bequest of same to or benefit of any person, where a fund is bequeathed absolutely to or for the benefit of any person, but the will contains a direction that it shall be applied or enjoyed in a particular manner, the legatee shall be entitled to receive the funds as if the will had contained no such direction. The illustrations for this section are, for example, A sells his house to B and imposes a condition on B that B alone should reside in the house. The condition is void and invalid also. And the second illustration is, A makes an absolute gift of a house to B with a direction that B shall reside in it. The gift is absolute and the direction is void. B may live in the house or not as he pleases. And for this we can see a case law regarding this concept, Srimati Leelavati and others versus FRD Suraj Bhan and another, AR 1971, Punjab 87. In this case the facts are, the plaintiff sold 100 plots of land to the defendant. The sale was absolute, but certain conditions relating to its enjoyment were introduced in the deed of sale, as payment of sum of 2 annas in every 100 rupee and hak malkana to the vendor. The court held that the defendant is not bound by the conditions. So the purpose of section 11 is to facilitate the enjoyment of the property transferred by sale or gift, where full ownership is given to the transferee. So the ingredients for this section are otherwise we can say this like, to attract section 11 of the Transfer of Property Act, the following conditions are to be satisfied. The first condition is, there must be absolute interest created in favor of the transferee by the transferor. And the second ingredient is, terms of the transfer provide that the interest in the property shall be enjoyed or applied in the manner prescribed by the transferor. Of course, there is an exception to section 11. The exception made by the second paragraph is a recognition of the rule that the transfer may impose conditions restraining the enjoyment of land if such restrictions are for the benefit of his adjoining land. This section relates to the enforcement of the restriction against the transferee. In simple words, we can say that there is an exception to the general rule under section 11. That is, if a person transfers a plot of land keeping another plot to himself, he can impose certain conditions which may interfere with the rights of enjoyment of the transferee. We can illustrate this concept in the following manner. For example, A has properties X and Y. If A sells property Y to B and puts a condition that B should not construct on the property Y more than one story, so that A's property X which he retains should have good light and free air. Thus, it is clear that the above condition imposed by the transferor for the benefit of another property or to safeguard property is valid. So this is all about condition restraining enjoyment and condition restraining alienation and condition restraining enjoyment.